Yeah, it would be
Okay,
great
so
for,
this is our Widget Wednesday Zoom call for July 15th, and there was a question about Zoom meetings. So as I was mentioning, if you have a Zoom account as of a certain date, you might as well start using it now because they're going to enforce it, is when you set up a Zoom call. So let's go ahead and schedule a new meeting. So one, there is I can use a template. So I'm just going to use my Widget Wednesday template. You can put a description, but you'll see there's a required registration. So that means that when somebody, if that's required, you're gonna have a link that's an invitation to register. It's not just a link to the meeting, it's actually a link to register, which some of you've done. You have to put your name, and then you go into you can enable waiting room, which I normally do then. So there's an enable waiting room link here. So that way, when people come into the meeting that they've registered for, you can kind of see who they are. So if you've got a Zoom party crasher, you can leave, kick them out or whatever. So it kind of gives you some level of security and control. Whereas if you just send a link out, anybody with a link and you don't know who's forwarding what to who can join.
And look at that, record the meeting automatically.
Yes, there's a solution to this. I told you there was a widget. I don't do that because you've got this kind of like a chat thing, and I've been remembering pretty good, but you can also record the meeting automatically. Now, the other thing is password. So you'll see that there's a required meeting password, and you can make this anything you want, but let's go ahead and save this to see what happens with it. So now you've got a registration link. So because we had registration required, when you click on this link, the person who gets it is going to get this place to fill in their name and their email, and they're going to go into your registration area, and I'll show you where that is. So that way, again, you know who registered. If you don't recognize a name, you can reach out to their email and say, who are you again? Or, just to control. Because if it's just 10 or 20 people, it's pretty easy. But when you're starting to get 50, 100 people, you don't want to have last minute surprises. By people you don't know.
would you actually do this if you're only going to, say talk?
No, in your case, if you're just setting up a meeting, again, this is something that Zoom has starting to implement, is I would just do it a password. So let's just create a new meeting, schedule a meeting. So on this meeting, I'm not going to make registration required. I'm just going to turn the password on. So let's see, register is not required. Yeah, and you can make this anything you want. I mean, it's not really important if it's something you want to remember, because that way, the thing I guess with that is if they call in, because sometimes people can call in if they're not in front of the computer and they don't want video or whatever, then they need the password because I think it asks them for the password. So you might want to make this a real word or some number that's significant to you or your Zoom attendees. But since I'm not turning on the registration, what happens when I save this meeting is this link, you'll see how there's a PWD, which is short for password. Mm-hmm. So in that link, they don't have to type in the password. It's got this link enabled, but you just have to send that to the people that want to use it. Does that make sense? So the difference is, and let's click on this.
So to make it easier for, say, my parents, I could just copy.
Yeah, so you can either cut this link and send it to them, or the invitation is this. So you can send them this, which has all these numbers. So like if you've got somebody who is calling in, they can call a local number, and then they have to enter the meeting ID, and that's where the password is important because they have to type in that password.
Okay.
So hopefully that clarifies a little bit about Zoom. Again, Zoom is going to either has or will start requiring either password registration. You can do both, but you should at least do one or the other.
But from here, where it says copy meeting invitation,
Mm-hmm.
Just take that and cut and paste it into an email? Is that how you do it?
Exactly. So what I normally do is I'll just copy that out. I'll usually, because most of the people I know are local, so I'll leave the Santos because why confuse things, right?
Right.
So and they can actually find a local number, but most of us, I think, have mobile phones which don't have long distance charges and stuff. So I don't think it's that critical as long as they've got some number they can call.
Right. Okay.
But if you've got people who only have landlines, like my mom, probably would want to send her a local number.
Right.
It's amazing what they charge for landlines, because my
Yeah.
mom's out in the country and her bill is like 60, 70 bucks, and it goes up if she makes a call to Dixon or something. It's like crazy. Yeah. I
She
said,
doesn't-
well, so she has a cell phone, you know, but she doesn't know how to use it, or, you know, doesn't want to use it, learn how to use it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a little bit about Zoom. So let's go
Great.
into our,
Copy paste that. That's
Yeah.
so cool. All right. That'll
okay,
help.
good. Yes, I'm glad we could help on that.
Thank
So let's talk about schedulers. Now, Renee was the one that brought this up. So Renee, why don't you kind of describe why you're interested in this topic?
Well, you know, I have multiple social media outlets, right? And I just think it's really important to, again, in an effort to become efficient in how to manage the posting and have, especially in my business areas, you know, I want to have a program, and I want to have kind of tell a story in those postings. I don't want it to just be a whole bunch of random stuff. So I know that schedulers exist, and that they kind of even have, a lot of them have planners, or you can kind of plan out your programs and what you want to talk about or what you want to post. And so I have not ventured into, well, I kind of have, but I failed at using a scheduler. So I really wanted to hear more about your feedback on it and what your experience is, and kind of learn more about it.
So Julie, do you have a specific interest, or are you just kind of here for Widget Wednesday?
I'm here for Widget Wednesday. I wasn't sure the topic was.
Okay, that's fair.
Understand.
Well, and so I've been using a scheduler for years, and also I've been in technology for 50 years. And I know that companies are really good a lot of times at one thing. Zoom is good at online meetings, and let's say FreshBooks is good at invoicing, or whatever tool you use, it's good at something. Sometimes they'll have other features, but a lot of times they're not either going to fill the need you have, or there's a tool that fills the need better. So very rarely do I find one tool that does everything I want to do the way I want to do it. So my goal when I have a need, and we're talking about saving you time by not playing phone tag with somebody, you know, can you meet on Wednesday? What time's good for you? And you're playing phone tag. That could eat up hours, especially if you're dealing with dozens of people. So years ago, I've actually used a couple of different schedulers. Right now I'm using one that was called Schedule Once, but I think was acquired by Once Hub, so it's part of their offerings now.
And I'm sorry, I forgot which scheduler is that we were talking about. Yeah, I need this like crazy. The
Well,
meeting-
so I'll show you mine. And I actually was doing research, because obviously there's more than one way to, you know, fill a need.
Right.
So, and it's also good to revisit that every so often, because a lot of times I'm happy with a product, but sometimes another company has gotten either better at it or has integrated something. So I should, you know, and these are why this is good for me, because it said, okay, I've used a scheduler for years. Is there something better? So I've scheduled, and I'll show you how I find these things, because what works for me may not be the best for you. So I decided, rather than show you all the options, because believe me, there's like dozens and dozens of options, I'm going to show you mine. I'm going to show you why I like mine. Then we're going to look at a couple options and where I found those options and what you should do in order to find the best tool for you. So again, I use Schedule Once, and the reason I like it, and most of them operate this way, this is not exclusive to them, but on my website and in my emails, I have a click to schedule an appointment button. In my dashboard with Schedule Once, I'm able to, one, put this text here. Now, you'll notice it picks a time zone. I have clients across the country. What's nice is if they're in Hawaii or New York, they can say where they are, and then it syncs with me. So I'm not having to do the math as far as what time is that for me. I can also schedule my working hours. So I think I may extend it a little bit later. I think I start at 7:30 and I go to 5:30, and I have a little note, by appointment as well. But what happens, and the reason I like this so well, is I use Google Calendar for my general management of my day. I don't know what you use, but that would be the important thing, that whatever scheduler you use is easy to use with what you're using now. Or you might have to change the other side. But I use Google Calendar, been really happy with it. So I needed this to sync with Google Calendar. So it does. So when somebody picks this, and some of you may have used this already, the other thing they can do is select the duration. Again, you as the business owner can decide what's the minimum, how long does it go? I decided 2 hours because more than 2 hours is, plenty. So let's choose an hour, and it continues. Then it looks at my calendar and says, when is Susan available for the hour? Now, I also set in the parameters of this program, I don't want to book things back to back. I don't want to have a 1 hour appointment with Sally and a 1 hour appointment with Julie back to back. So I told the system, leave at least a 30-minute gap. That way, if it goes over, or if I want to, take notes, or if I want to do something else, I'm not doing things back to back. So this scheduler does that. The other thing it does is I can schedule, I tell them, I want 3 possible times. Because if they pick a day that's just, I know it's going to be crazy, even though I've got open in my calendar, I want them to pick 3 different times, so I get to choose the time that works best for me. And this was more important when I was physically visiting people, because I did not want an appointment in Roseville and then have to drive all the way down to Elk Grove in 30 minutes. So pick. Yeah, exactly. But now that we're doing more virtual, it's not quite as critical, but I still like that option because I can pick the day that kind of will be less crazy for me or whatever. Now you'll notice that I say pick, and I have to see if I can change this text. This I had to code because people were just picking 3 times on the same day, which kind of negated and because there was not, so if they picked times that were consecutive, because it wasn't in my calendar, it didn't leave that 30-minute gap, sometimes they'll block out, like a 3.5 hour section that I didn't want. That makes sense. So I made this in red, and I actually had to do very little HTML coding to make sure this was prominent 3 different times on at least 2 different days, and they still don't do that. So even though you can get the program to do this, sometimes you can't get people to read the fine print, but whatever. But the other thing it does is I get a notification from this computer or this program that says, let's say Julie has requested an appointment. I can then look at it on my calendar. Now you'll see here on my Google Calendar, let me see where that is. And actually, let's go into this. I think I'm in OneSub. Okay, so I'm going to go into my OneSub control panel so you see what happens. So a lot of these companies have free trials, and I'll kind of give you a range on pricing. Let's see, so if I go to OneSub, let's go to, I should be signed in. Access your account, there we go. So I actually had an appointment with Helen tomorrow, Renee, but because she gets these reminders, she was able to click and cancel it. And then she wants to schedule it in 2 weeks. Okay. So this kind of takes care of it. So they're having to remember less, and I'm having to remember less, because once I approve the appointment that I want out of those 3 options, it'll go into my calendar, and it'll send me reminders. So that's why that integration with what you're using, because you don't want to have to, if you're using online stuff. Now, I think, Renee, you're a person who likes the physical paper. So again,
but I still use Google Calendar though too. Okay,
yeah. So again, you want to make sure it works with whatever you're using, whether it's Outlook or Google Calendar or that kind of thing. But I like the fact that I can see my booking requests. I've scheduled everything that was requested of me. It shows my upcoming meetings. And so this is a nice hub for me.
Yeah.
Now, so most of the tools I kind of scanned at were very, very similar. They offer similar things. So again, the things I would suggest whenever you look at software was, one, does it meet my needs as far as scheduling? Because you might have different kind of scheduling needs. This is pretty flexible, and most of them are pretty flexible, but you'd want to test that. Two is price. This right now retails, I think, for about $10 a month, which when you look at your hourly billing rate, $10 a month is really nothing when you think of the amount of time you're playing phone and email tag with a potential client.
Right.
So to me, that's like a no-brainer. Some of the other ones get to be a little bit pricier, and we're talking maybe $10, $20, $30 a month. So again, look at the features you need and decide if that return on investment is worth the use of that product. So how do I find products? I go to Google and I Google scheduling tools or scheduling software. So let's just try that. And this is true for any kind of problem you have, whether it's invoicing, whether it's, project management. There's a tool for everything out there. So let's see, scheduling. And I would like this to also time track. See, this is where Schedule Once and Once Hub is good at booking, but wouldn't it be nice if it integrated with time tracking? So once I had an appointment with somebody, whether it was an invoiceable appointment or not, it would go to my invoicing system, which goes to my client database, which goes to, and if it was not billable, then I can track it as non-billable time, but what does it go to, marketing or whatever. So that's the whole thing about finding the thing that's going to suit the most things for the good price point without having to do a lot of extra work. So let's just look at this one thing. Scheduling, oops. Scheduling, come on, stop it. You talk to your computer.
Pretty deep there, I'm kind of confused.
No, so scheduling software. So I'm in Google and I hit the wrong, there's an escape button or something. Okay, so, yeah, I'm in Google. Interesting.
There you go.
So Capterra, actually, I've done a lot of reviews for Capterra. So Capterra is a good comparison website. They actually solicit reviews from users. They're not pros. Sometimes you'll get websites that'll be the experts in something and they'll compare. And that's a good start too, because I don't have time to research the dozens and dozens of software. What I do is say, what do either the users or the experts say about it? How many stars does it get?
Right.
How expensive is it? And does it have a free trial or a free demo? Free demos are even better, because then rather than you playing with it and try to figure it out, schedule a time with an expert. And usually they take about 15, 20 minutes. Just show me what it does. These are the things I want it to do. Does it do that? And in a pretty quick 15, 20 minutes, you can decide, if you like to play with it, and if it looks like it's possible, a good potential, then you might do the 14-day free trial if that's what it offers. So anyway, I use Capterra a lot. There's actually quite a few different comparison programs. I like to start there because you don't want to just go to their website because they're going to tell you they're wonderful. You want to know what other people are saying. So you'll see there's a lot of comparison sites. Sometimes they're special. So let's go to Capterra just because I mentioned that. And a lot of times they'll have like comparisons. What I like about some of these is they'll have side-by-side comparisons. And I'll show you one I did I was just looking at something, and I'll kind of show you what that looked like. Because it's nice because it shows you functionality, whether this software has that functionality or what, and all those kinds of ratings. But you can see, look at there's dozens of them, and none of them I've heard of before.
Right.
This is why I decided, rather than show you some of the other ones, depending on what you're looking for, there's dozens of them.
Right.
Let's look at a couple. So these are the ones that I kind of started to look at. And the reason I looked at these is because they integrate with something else I'm using. So if I'm using something and they say, we sync with a scheduling tool called Calendly, I think that's how you pronounce that.
Right.
then I said, okay, let's go look at it. So a lot of them have a free option, but they don't offer a lot of functionality.
Right.
So again, for $8 a month, if it's going to save you a couple, 3 hours a month, yeah, let's just do that. And again, you can see where they have this comparison about the different levels, whether it gives you, you can add this to your website in all cases, integration. Now we're going to talk, have you heard about Zapier? I think that's how you pronounce it. Zapier. I'm going to show you that because that's another tool, because what that does is it can bridge the gap between tool A and tool B. So if they don't automatically integrate and sync, Zapier is kind of like that bridge, which is a really good idea, because years ago in technology, it was like Microsoft wouldn't talk to Apple, wouldn't talk to this, and it's like, I can't use those because they don't talk to each other. So
and sometimes that still happens. Someone will send me a document and it's like, I can't even open this thing.
Yeah. And so that's why, you as a user, and we need to educate our consumers as well as our customers about this, is like you said with the, the Zoom call, the first time it's going to be difficult, but don't just, let them get into a habit. Like I have people that are still sending PDF newsletters via email. And I said, one, it's a big file. Two, most people are reading their email on phones now, and they can't read a PDF file on their phone.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I do that. It's
yeah.
that. Right.
Or do you? I didn't mean to point a finger, but yeah.
Today, I'm either going to do MailChimp or Constant Contact, and I'm putting out the Silver Lining Network announcement in a different format because it's dumb.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because it's what we're used to, but again, there's a tool for that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it because it's quick and easy, and I know it, right?
Yeah,
but it's not correct.
Yeah, quick and easy is the path of least resistance, but it's not always the best path.
Yeah.
So I looked at Calendly. I didn't see. I'm paying. So this is how long I've been with them. I think, and I couldn't find my account system. I think I'm paying $50 a year for one sub, but I think the price has gone up to $10. Or no, I'm paying $50 a year, but the price has gone up to $10 a month. So $10 a month is still doable, but that's why any company that I look like has to beat my $50 a month or give me more functionality before I switch.
Right.
The one actually I have a demo for. So another of the integrations is with a company called Visita. Now they have a calendaring system, but also they have a invoicing system. So my criteria for an invoicing system, and again, this is a very specialized niche, is I need it to have a timer on it. And I suspect the same is for both of you, is you don't necessarily have a flat rate, you bill by the hour, or at least you want to track. So if you do a flat rate project, you want to know how long in real time this took. Right. So did I make money, or did I really, bite the bullet on this one? Right. So I need a invoicing system that lets me have a timer, because I have clients that I, bill them per the hour, and I have, my Cordova Council client, there's like a page of 15 minutes here and 30 minutes here and 2 hours here that I don't have time to compile. So all I have to do is make sure I log that in my time tracking system. At the end of and this is the other cool thing, and this is something I didn't realize FreshBooks did, is it will automatically generate an invoice at the end of the month, because Susan gets busy and all of a sudden it's July 15th and I never created an invoice for them. So now the system creates an invoice for me, and I've chosen to look at it before it sends out, but at least the invoice is there. And then FreshBooks is reminding me, hey, you've got this much money in outstanding invoices. So that is my reminder to go in and then review the invoice and then send it out. But before I turned that feature on, I was forgetting to send an invoice or compile that invoice. So anyway, so I'm looking at Visita. I have a call this afternoon for the demo. Again, I need them to prove that, one, it is going to be able to integrate these two tools. So right now I've got FreshBooks and OneSub. If I can combine that into one tool, I think it would be better. But again, I have to have that functionality. So again, it's good to revisit your needs every so often, because a company might have done that integration better and still have the functionality you need. But again, it's going to take research by you to figure that out. So again, I use those review sites and then look at the pricing. So what I did was I clicked on several of those, and my warning, my warning thing is if they don't have pricing on their website. It's like they're going to a restaurant, there's no prices on the menu. Yeah, you're schedule a free consultation with us and we'll tell you, and then 30 minutes later you find out it's $100 a month or something, you know. So if you aren't willing to put your pricing on there, I'm not willing to spend my time to figure out if you're right for me.
Yeah.
If you were affordable, I think you'd tell me right up.
Right.
So yes.
Exists. So what are some of these big companies that are like, I mean, they're out there to serve enterprise companies.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And that was the other thing you'll see when, and I'm going to see if I can find that, a comparison thing. I think this was, no, where is that? I have so many, I actually have less tabs up than I normally do. But I was actually looking at doing some research on something that I can't figure out. Okay, so let's just go through my tabs. This was one company that I looked at as a link, and you'll see there's no pricing. Usually there's a big pricing tab up here. No pricing. Okay, bye.
A grab.
Yeah, exactly. So here again, big time. So, professional service firms, a lot of time you said they're for corporate. So there's a lot more functionality because you're dealing with hundreds of employees, but that's not us. So we don't need that. Again, no pricing, no thank you. Okay, let's go to here. Okay, that's something else. That's another comparison site. So as you see, this Read Right came up with the top 10 appointment scheduling software.
Ah.
What I didn't like about this one is there was no way to cross compare. I like to be able to say, okay, if I like this one or this one looks good, I want to see side by side.
Yeah, they're not sitting next to each other.
Yeah, so this to me is not a really good site to use. So I would bookmark those sites that you like to use, which is why I'm trying to find the one that I was using. This is that one for Calendarly, the CETA.
While you're looking, I have to tell you is I really like the graphic that you have on your scheduling thing. That's a nice piece.
Oh yeah, thanks. That was something I got from iStock or something, but it used to be on my car. I really like that, but I had a new car. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not.
The colors lend to making people feel comfortable and trusting. And there's just those colors. Again, color is everything.
Yeah, good advice from a graphics person. Okay, so I think I must have closed that link. But again, just kind of do some Googling about the software you want. Check out some sites, bookmarks the ones you like. Captura is the one that I've given reviews for. But again, I really haven't used it for cross comparison much because they don't do that side-by-side thing. And if I find the one that did the side-by-side, I'll send you that link because that was kind of a good cross comparison. I was looking at other invoicing software.
The CETA is an interesting product because it is HIPAA compliant.
Okay.
It works with Google Analytics, QuickBooks, and a Zapier integration, which is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they give you a full hour of setup and installation. They help you do that, which is kind of cool. You don't see that very often. You end up buying and you kind of muddle through yourself set up, and they offer assistance with that, which is cool. Yeah, they've got some cool things on here.
So, feel free to book schedule an appointment. They use a scheduling system. So like I did a request for a schedule and it said, we'll be in contact. See, that was inconvenient for me.
Yeah.
If you're going to book a demo for somebody, show me when I can book a demo, 1 o'clock tomorrow or whatever it is. And let me get that on my calendar as opposed to waiting for an email from them. I mean, that to me seems stupid. But anyway, it wasn't for a scheduling company. Wouldn't that be stupid? If the scheduling company said, we'll schedule a demo with us and they send you a link, that would be stupid. But this is for another software company. Okay, so let's talk about Zapier really quick, because one of the issues I've had over the last few months, I decided to change my email system. I've been with Google Suite for years. And again, and then I was having some email issues, and I contacted GoDaddy, who has my domain name, and they're offering a suite with Microsoft. Now, Microsoft's been around for a long time, But again, getting a little beyond my techie expertise, is there's different ways to send email. And apparently Google was using an older version, which was running into some issues because everybody's increasing security, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I decided to switch over to Microsoft Outlook, which is okay. I don't like the way they thread their emails because I can't find emails as easily as I used to. But the other thing I didn't like is I did not like their calendar, you know, because obviously Outlook has a calendar integration and a task integration. I preferred Google. So I've been trying to figure out how to integrate my Outlook with Google without making it hard. So Zapier, that's where Zapier comes in.
I like the name.
Hmm?
I like the name.
Yeah, I know. It's a good storytelling name. So you'll see, I actually was starting this process when Renee jumped on the call. So let me see, where am I? So what I did was I'm creating a link between Outlook and Google. I'm telling it to do something. So, and I haven't tried this yet, so I'm not sure how, but the fact that it could talk to each other, that's what Zapier does. It's say, what is your software A? What is your software B? What do you want to do when something happens in software A? What do you want to have happen in software B? So I'm trying to set up a Zapier that will say, when I set up a task in Outlook, send it over to Google. Because that's kind of like my go-to task list. Because if you look at my calendar, all my tasks show up in red at the top, and then my appointments show up at the bottom. But I like to look at my day like that. Mm-hmm. That's how I keep track of what I should be working on and all that. Mm-hmm. So again, I did not like the way Outlook looked. Outlook was not as visual for me. So anyway, that's where Zapier comes in. And as far as I know, and this is something I haven't used Zapier a lot, and it just dawned on me when we were talking about integration, or not talking about it, when we were planning on talking about integration. Let's see what Zapier is, because I'm on the free plan right now, and I think there is an upgrade, but I don't know what you get with the upgrade. So let's find out. Yeah, you'll see over here, like, so how you'll see it recommends, like I use JotForm. We talked about that during the Widget Wednesday. It goes to Podio, which I use for my CRM. So it's already recommending some possible integrations. JotForm, I don't use Trello. I don't know what that is. JotForm to Google Sheets. So what I did was I said Outlook, Microsoft Outlook to Google. And I think I just said, let's see, was it tasks? Calendar, maybe. So anyway, that's how it kind of walks you through the process. So I am on the free legacy plan. I don't know what the legacy plan is. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so, okay, so again, when you're telling Zapier, do this for me. When I create a task in Outlook, transfer it over to Google, that's considered a zap. That integration is a zap. And then I think this is what this is telling me. It's 100 tasks per month. So if I do more than 100 of those transfers per month, then I need to upgrade to the next plan.
You can afford it if you're doing more.
Yeah, I know, right. That's what we say. Hey, wouldn't it be nice to have to upgrade, because they're giving it to free up to 50, but if you have to do more than 50, yay. Hopefully you're making a whole lot more money. So,
wow.
Yeah, you'll see my plan. See, this is how long I've been using things. A lot of times the current, I get grandfathered in, to these plans. So starting sooner rather than later is a good idea, because prices tend to go up. Sometimes they go down because of competition, but at least you have that option. So I use Zapier. I haven't used it a lot, but I think because of these issues, again, the bigger the problem, the more you're inclined to go find a solution. Because I gotta find out this. Okay, just this is a little teaser. This is a little teaser. I was on a webinar this weekend about mobile apps. And mobile apps are those things that you download from the Play Store and stuff. And for the longest time, I've researched mobile apps. And I don't know if you've had that experience, Julie, but mobile apps are expensive.
Mhm.
I mean, I think I was quoted $10,000 for a mobile app. And because, you know, the programmers had to program it, and then you have to upload it to the Google store and all that stuff. And for the return on investment, it just wasn't cost effective. I mean, I couldn't justify that for me or my clients to say spend $10,000, because I know as a programmer, if somebody's going to create a custom app for you and in 2 months Apple changes their protocols or Google changes its browser or something happens, somebody's going to go and have to fix that. And then they're going to either want to charge you for that, or if you want to add something to your app, they're going to want to charge you for that. So I kind of discounted apps until I was on this webinar. So this company, again, is a company that specializes in apps. I actually talked to the founder yesterday. This is the cool thing. So again, we talk about if they're willing to give you a demo, or if they're willing to walk you through your process. So I signed up for this program because it was intriguing enough. I wanted to learn more. And one of the things they offered was a 20-minute talk with the founder of the company. So I scheduled it for 4:30 yesterday. We were on the phone for 40 minutes. Had a really good talk. I asked him a lot of questions. But the thing I'm excited about, and the thing that I didn't understand, I said, so tell me, because this is the story I've been telling people. Really, what's the difference between a mobile version of your phone, you know, your website, and an app? And this is the compelling thing. And for those of you who have been on the mastermind calls, we're talking about branding, right? The importance of branding your business, top of mind awareness. And if you're out there in social media, or if you have an online presence because of your website, that is one portion of branding. But imagine if you had a digital footprint on somebody's phone. That is a relationship. Now, of course, you have to provide value for that relationship. But I was describing, and for the, Renee, I know you've been kind of in and out of the mastermind calls, but we've been talking about breadcrumb marketing, right?
Right. Right.
Throw a breadcrumb out there in social media, you know, throw a breadcrumb out there at a PWN call, whatever. Breadcrumb, 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 monetize it. Whether it's a discounted offer or a free introduction or whatever it is, you know, now you're starting to that path to monetization. Well, what this guy, Damien, and I talked about was, what if that breadcrumb was download my app onto your phone and you get this? Now, again, it's going to depend on industry. But the one that I'm probably going to do first is, I was describing to him, I do the website for the Cordova Community Council, which had to cancel their golf tournament, their 4th of July. You know, they've had to cancel their concert series because of COVID. And I said, they have 15,000 people on their constant contact email list. 15,000. And they sent an email, hey, we've had to cancel it, or it's been rescheduled, or whatever. And I said, what if we created an app for the Cordova Council that would pop up on their phone? Hey, we're on for the movie. You can register here, or, you know, whatever. And he said, that would be awesome, because now you've got a digital footprint. They want that information anyway. But this is where we were talking about. So the app can schedule appointments. It can, you know, give them calendars. It can send them tips of the day, tips of the month. And I know, Renee, we're talking about online courses.
Right.
Imagine if the app for their online courses was on their phone.
Right.
And a reminder, okay, hey, you remember you were going to take this tutorial on whatever it is.
Right. Right.
That is a relationship. So this is what got me all excited about this new app possibility. And we're not talking $10,000. We're talking maybe $3,000.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad. So anyway, I'm going to be prototyping the first one for Cordova Council, because I think, to me, that's a no-brainer for them.
Yeah.
But and seriously, I had the call with him at 4:30 yesterday. So that's all I know. But the reason I wanted to mention that is we're talking about scheduling.
Right.
So if you are like even if you are loyal to a hairstylist, and right now things are so crazy in terms of when they're open and what they can do and stuff, imagine if instead of having to send an email out to your client base or call everybody or whatever, they had your app on their phone. They could click to a button to your scheduling system that says, these are the things I have open now.
Right.
And they could book that out. how much easier your life would be. So it's kind of taking that same idea of scheduling, but the next thing would be, instead of being on a website and in as a link in an email, it would be a app on their phone.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I had my eyes opened.
Yeah.
Again, because I had discounted apps because I thought they were expensive. I said, what's the difference between a mobile app? And the thing is the instant messaging. You know, because for restaurants, if, again, they're open, they're closed, they want to drive up business.
Right.
Hey, for the next 10 people who come in and, you know, do drive-by pickup, they can offer free app or something.
Right.
But again, it's so easier to do that with, if they're on their phone, as opposed to on social media, or, you know, a little bit more control and loyalty.
So they set everything up?
They being,
The developer.
yeah. So what they are is they're kind of like a schedule once for apps.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes I wanted to share with you guys, and I don't remember who said this, but they said, seldom will a good idea interrupt you. Right? So if you're thinking, I need a, you know, I really need to get my scheduling better, very rarely will, you know, an email come and say, hey, we've got the perfect scheduler for you. I mean, very rarely does that happen, but it happens. Seriously, I'm on this with this ad agency, and they send me all kinds of good stuff. That's actually what got us connected with the Promo Republic, which is the social media app.
Yeah.
That literally, seriously, I was researching, how do I manage social media postings? And these are the things that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then I'm researching it was it for a 10:30 call? No, it was, I was planning on posting at 10:30. I get this email from this company. They say, hey, we're having a webinar in 10 minutes about social media. So I jumped on. It was like the solution. So sometimes Google good ideas do interrupt you, but it doesn't happen often.
Yeah. And I, I don't believe in any,
karma, serendipity.
Yeah, I think it's out there. You just have to find it.
Yeah. No, they're out there. Yeah. And sometimes it's like the good, right place, right time kind of a thing. But you have to be willing to invest the time and stuff into it.
So I have a client that's texting me out of her mind. So I have to jump here.
So this has been recorded. I'll resend it, but follow up with me on what we talked about earlier this week about the mastermind, because they did mention that.
Yeah.
When you go
to Julie, you can stay on if you want. I see you had a question.
Yeah.
Bye, Renee.
I just have to buzz off. Bye-bye.
When you finally get around to working with this company, I'm very interested, because as you know, I work with the Carmichael Chamber, the Jazz Foundation. There's some people that could really utilize that.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how much you're going to have to, what information do you have to give them? I mean, do you give them the design? What kind of information do you have to feed them in order to make it work?
Right. So again, I'm not going to be doing in talking to the founder.
Yeah.
What they have is a tool like this calendaring dashboard that will help them develop an app. And so we have to provide, and what they want is a website. So the only requirement, he said, is they have to have a website, because as you know, the hardest part about building a website or a flyer is send me the stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And getting that is hard. So they've kind of already decided that if we have a website, at least we have something to go on as far as what they're doing and what they need and all that kind of stuff. So they have to have a website. But he told me, because he knows my background, 50 years in programming, he said, it's not as easy as a drag and drop WYSIWYG. That's why they can charge less, because these guys, that's all they do.
Yeah.
They take apps, they make a few modifications and tweaks and stuff, and then they do it. Then I, as an agency, pay them, but the client pays me.
Yeah.
So the markup is pretty good. And I don't want to share that now because I don't know more about how they're moving forward. But I will tell you, if you find jobs, I can do revenue share with you, Julie.
Well,
because the profit margin was, incredible. And that's why I thought it was an investment on my part to sign up. But the ROI in the long term, because I could already think of a few people who would need this.
Yeah, of course.
And once I understood the value, see, that was my thing. I had to understand, I can build them a mobile friendly website. So what's the difference between a mobile friendly website and an app? But once he started to describe that to me, it started to make sense as far as why some businesses, not every business, but why some businesses would want to invest. And the event industry is huge for that. For the same reason I thought of the Cordova Council.
Yeah.
Is because, yeah, it's, like if you've got a lot of them, these are going virtual now, and that engagement is huge. So if you have an app that they're on, have on their phone, it seems like it's a better connection and more personal because you've got real estate on their phone.
So I'm wondering, and of course, once you meet with them and talk to them a little bit more about this, I'm wondering how, like you said, the movie's on. Well, there's got to be some place where somebody has to plug the information in order for it to spider out.
Right. So I already started, again, this is like, less than 24 hours probably. I started looking at their intake forms. They're not too complicated. I mean, basically it's like, what's the name of the app? Whether it's Cordova Community Council or whatever, that app, a few basic questions, what kind of functionality you need. And then they start the prototype system. Now, the other thing that I had a big question of is because, things change. You want to add a new function to the app, and what's the charge for that? So their team in their monthly hosting fee, they call it a maintenance fee, is $40 a month, but that includes up to 2 changes per month.
Okay.
Which to me seemed very, very reasonable. Because the other thing they do is if Apple changes their protocol or, Google Play Store changes their protocol, they take care of all that. The user doesn't have to worry about going down because Apple changed the rules. The other thing is, Bill, my husband, was talking to his boss, and her issue was the company that she was working with couldn't post the app into Apple unless they were a corporation, which I don't know why that rule. But anyway, I was talking to this guy, Damien, about this yesterday. He says, that's no problem because our agency is taking care of all this and we're the corporation. Yeah. So we're just doing that on behalf of somebody. So I'm pretty excited about it. Again, I just sent him another email to get some clarification on things. But I'm going to go start the process for Cordova Council because to me that is a no-brainer. They've been a long-term client. I think this is something they could really utilize. And so this is the thing. So I purchased what they call credits for an app. Yeah. So I pre-purchased a set amount of credits. That's my buy-in into the company. And if I have this app developed, because that's what they suggested during training, develop an app for somebody and show them. Because it's better than, trying to get them to understand, just show them the prototype and say, hey, you can have this. This is the cost. This is the monthly fee. And if they say no, now I've got something for my portfolio.
I was going to say, at least you have it done and you can move along to the next person.
Exactly. And the price point to develop these is so inexpensive. I don't mind losing that for the return on investment is worth it of my time, especially if I know the client.
We should work together on that. And I think maybe, coming up with, a promotional flyer, if you will, or something that, so people can look at it and go, these are the bullet points. This is what's going to happen. This is
okay.
No big deal.
Yeah.
That would be
and we were talking, when we were doing our strategy session for your business, we were talking about that. And, now that you mentioned that, because your problem with your clients is they've lost their live events, this app concept might fill that gap.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I'm going to have to see. I don't know if I emailed Damien. I had a few questions. I may tag on this question about you.
Okay.
And maybe get you, because this was so cool about it. The thing that hooked me was everything he said in his seminar resonated with things I'm talking about in the mastermind.
Yeah.
Top of mind awareness, uniqueness, connectivity, relationship, and checking off those boxes. It's okay. Yeah. Does that. I just had to understand again the difference about the why. Now that I understand the why, I'm really excited about it. And because he knows, so they had a recruiting call. So if you want to be a rep for this company to sell apps to your contacts. This is what it costs, blah, blah, blah. Because I have the background in developing websites, which is pretty similar. That's why we had a 40-minute call.
Yeah.
I had a lot of questions and he had a lot of suggestions, and he said, so I'm going to, he gave me his personal email so I can contact. Yeah. And he told, yeah. So anyway, I feel really good about this. It's not just me being kind of like a person on their own selling this stuff. I feel like I can have some feedback. And the person, and I think they sent me the recording, Julie. I'll see if I can find that. They had this woman. Now they've been around for about 10 years. So this is not just a start. They're developing an app for 10 years. And they had this woman that started out as a sales rep for them maybe 8 years ago. This is her, I mean, she's retired, but she's making a good living because one, it's the one-off sale, but two, there's a way to do that maintenance fee of $40 and monetize that for you too. I haven't decided how, and that was part of my questions, because my biggest thing with any white label marketing is that then it's my responsibility. And what happens if I get hit by a donut truck? And then the fee, then that payment stops. Is that means that the app's going to go down, or I have to make it easy for my customers to bridge that gap if something happens to me. I don't want to be the bottleneck there. So that was my other question is, right now, most of the things I do aren't white label because I want them to pay the company directly. I don't care if I'm missing out on a little residual.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that my company or my clients are going to be able to manage after I'm gone. I plan to work for a while, so I'm not worried about retirement as much as if, I get hit by COVID or the donut truck or something like that. I don't want to leave my clients hanging. Yeah. Okay, well, tell you what, I'm going to
let me know about that. Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
Because like I said, I have plenty of clients, and my brother, who is actually on the East Coast,